Welcome to Real Estate Investing Abundance, the show for busy, fulfilled professionals like you to learn how to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alan Lomax.
Hello, enlightened investors. I'm your host, Dr. Alan Lomax, and it is a pleasure to be with you today as we explore the avenues to effectively using private money to develop our wealth. Jay Conner has been through the ringer and has come out the other side with not only experience from the hard knocks of market downturns, but also with an accumulation of wealth of knowledge. The foundation of experience and knowledge, Jay has used that to design a private money system that generated for him an amount of $2 million within just a few months of implementation of his system. And he is here to share that with us, as well as his many other experiences. So Jay, take us into the show by sharing a memorable experience from your formative years that helped you to be who you are today.
Well, thank you so much, Alan, for inviting me to be on your show. I'm so excited and passionate to be here to talk about my favorite subject, which is private money. Now, I've been a guest on hundreds, maybe over 1,000 podcasts, and I got to say, you have just asked me a question that I've never been asked before. And let me make sure I got the question right. And that is, what is an experience I had in childhood that was a formative experience? That's one of them $5 psychiatry words, I suppose. A formative experience that shaped like the rest of my life. Well, when you ask that question, the first thing that comes to my mind is, okay, what's like one of those moments in time or moments in childhood that you'll just never forget, that just like cemented in your brain? And so I was 7 years old and I grew up going to church. My grandfather was a very spiritual influence in my life, my mother's father. And so anyway, they had hired a new preacher. So, here in the South, we have preachers. In the North, they got priests, but we have preachers here in the South. So we had this new preacher that had been hired to come, be the minister at church. And it hadn't been long at all from the time he showed up. His name was Paul Nagy. I'll never forget it. And he invited a bunch of us kids over to his house, him and his wife's home, for a magic show. I'd never seen a magic show. And so here I go to the preacher's house. He puts on this magic show, and I am blown away. I'll never forget it. He had these 5 glasses, empty glasses, and a pitcher of water. And he'd call out us kids, "What's your favorite color?" And somebody'd say red. He took that water and he pulled it in that empty glass, and wow, here's red Kool-Aid. Then he did green Kool-Aid. Then he did yellow Kool-Aid. And I was just blown away. And Alan, from that moment, I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be a magician when I grew up. Well, I was on a podcast the other day recently, and I shared that story. And I never put 2 and 2 together, Alan. Guess what? I'm living my dream. I am a magician. I'm actually showing, and I have been showing other real estate investors for years, how to magically get money for their real estate deals unconventionally, not relying on banks, not relying on institutions, not relying on hard money lenders, not relying on mortgage companies, but how do you get money and funding for your real estate deals while you get to make the rules? So here I am performing magic, but I didn't know I was going to perform magic this particular way.
Well, that does seem like a magic trick to many of us, and I'm anxious to get into how you perform that trick. But yeah, I think that was a very brave preacher to invite a cackle of 7-year-olds over to his house. That took a lot of bravery. Anyway, so let's talk about private money. And so first of all, tell us what private money is. You just mentioned that there's something different about private money and private money lenders. So what's the difference there?
Yeah, so private money is actually doing business with individuals, human beings just like you and me and your audience. So a private lender is an individual that loans money most of the time either from their investment capital or from their retirement accounts or their retirement money to a real estate entrepreneur, a real estate investor, to use to fund their deals. Now, that can be a single family house, that can be a commercial deal. It's all the same money. And so it's doing business with individuals as opposed and in contrast to borrowing money, say, from hard money lenders or brokers of money or institutional commercial money. So you're doing business with individuals, and it's that simple. There's no middle person involved. It's a simple one-on-one transaction between the real estate investor, i.e. the borrower of the money, and an individual that is loaning money to that real estate investor's company from their just liquid capital and or their retirement money.
Well, that does sound sort of like magic, particularly to individuals who've never been involved in that sort of endeavor. So tell us, you've developed this system. So give us a little bit of background in terms of why it is that you use individuals as opposed to going to hard money lender companies or banks or other insurance companies or so on and so forth. Why the individual?
Yeah, well, my wife, Carol Joy, and I started investing in single family houses all the way back in 2003 here in Eastern North Carolina. We're here in a really, really small town, Morehead City, North Carolina. Our total target market that we invest in single family houses has got a total population of only 40,000 people, And we do not a lot of deals. We do 2 to 3 deals a month. However, our average profits right now are $71,000 per flip that we do. We've rehabbed about 450 houses or so since 2003. We've done other types of deals creatively, but as far as the fix and flips, we've done about 450 of them. Well, Alan, from 2003 until 2009, January 2009 to be exact, I did only what I knew to do. And that is when I would find a property to invest in, I went to my local banker, and this is for the first 6 years. I went to my local banker. I had a line of credit. I mean, my lands, Alan, when I started out, I had an unsecured line of credit of $250,000, which isn't going to get you much more than one house. But I had an unsecured line of credit of $250,000. I eventually had a line of credit. Well, from 2003 to 2009, I relied on this one banker. All right, there's the most dangerous number in any business, and that's the number 1. I only had one banker. And I tell you what, Alan, I remembered as though it was yesterday. I picked up the telephone. We actually still have landlines in Eastern North Carolina. So I picked up the telephone and I called my banker, Steve. That was his name. Steve was my banker. I called him up, and Alan, I had this similar type of conversation with Steve many times. I called him up, had a little chit chat, and I told him that I had 2 houses under contract, 2 properties under contract. They represented over $100,000 in profit from the time I would buy them, fix them up, and sell them. I told him about the deals, where they were located, the funding required, and I wanted to close in about 30 days. Well, Steve did something that's never a good sign when your banker or your wife or your significant other does this. He went quiet on the other end of the phone and did not say a word. And I said, Steve, are you still there? What's going on? He says, Jay, I'm sorry, but you no longer have a line of credit at this bank. And I said, what do you mean? Now, this was 2009. Alan, you probably remember what was going on in 2007, 2008, 2009.
Not much of anything, yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I said, Steve, what do you mean I no longer have a line of credit? He said, Jay, you've always made your payments on time. I know you still got a fantastic credit score, but the bank just isn't loaning money out to real estate investors anymore. I said, why? He says, because of what's going on with the global financial crisis. Well, I've been living underneath a rock, Alan. I didn't know we had a global financial crisis going on until it happened to me, right? So here I am, cut off, no way to fund my deals. And I tell you what, Alan, in that moment in time, I created my new mantra. And my new mantra was, it's impossible for me to fail until I choose to quit. Impossible for me to fail until I choose to quit. So what did I do? I picked up this same exact telephone and I called my friend Jeff, who lived in Greensboro, North Carolina at the time. He was a real estate investor. I told Jeff what happened and he says, well, Jay, welcome to the club. I said, what club are you talking about? He said, the club of losing your line of credit at the bank club. I said, oh. I said, why you say that? He says, because I lost my line of credit last week. I said, well, what are you doing to fund your deals? Right there, Alan, was the first time I ever heard, January 2009, the first time I ever heard the phrase private money. It's the first time I ever heard Jeff or anybody else talking about self-directed IRAs and how people have accounts at IRS-approved self-directed IRAs where they can loan money out to real estate investors tax-free or at least tax-deferred, earn unlimited money per year, tax-deferred or tax-free. And Jeff just blew my mind. So I researched private money and I put my program together, Alan. I put my program together. Here's the deal. I decided right up front, I'm not chasing, I'm not begging, I'm not selling. I'm not going to try to talk anybody into loaning me money. And you know what, Alan? To this date, since 2009, I have yet to ask anybody for money, to loan me money. And people say, well, Jay, how have you got $8 million in private money that you use from project to project? And it's real simple. I put on my teacher hat and I started teaching people what private money is, how they can earn very, very high rates of return safely and securely. I started teaching them about self-directed IRAs, how they can move their retirement funds over to one of those companies and loan money out, unlimited money per year, either tax deferred or tax free. So I put on my teacher hat and then the money started chasing me. And as a result, in less than 90 days, I attracted $2,150,000 in private money funding from individuals. And you know what, Alan? I didn't miss out on those two deals. I funded those two deals with private money. And since that time, I've never missed out on a deal because I did not have the money. And bear in mind, I was doing business, and I still do to this day, with individuals. You know, hard money lenders are mostly brokers of money. And the world of hard money and the world that we're talking about here of private money are night and day, two completely different worlds.
We'll be right back after a brief announcement. Are you a busy professional, passionate about the work of your calling, yet realize that even though you love what you are doing, you're exchanging your time for money? You know that if you were to lose the ability to exchange time for money, your financial well-being will be in jeopardy. If you can relate, I have great news. Steve Tucker Capital is an investment company designed for professionals to develop financial independence built on solid passive real estate investments. Remove the anxiety of an uncertain financial future and go to stevetucker.com. Get your free one-page 10-step guide to passive real estate investing. Well, there's so much we could unwrap here, but given the time constraints, can you just briefly illustrate for us how your system works? How do you go about attracting these funds? Where do you go for that? Who do you speak to? How do you actually then, once you have this audience, how do you start bringing that money into your bank so that you can utilize those funds?
Sure. Well, there's three primary categories or places to go to get private money. Three different kinds of people, individuals, if you will. There's what we call the warm market. Those are people that you've got some kind of relationship with. Maybe they're in your cell phone. Maybe they're in your email list. Maybe they're Facebook connections. Maybe you go to church with them. Maybe you're in the Rotary Club with them. Any kind of relationship or connection that you have with people, we call that your warm market. The second category of potential private lenders are what we call your expanded warm market. Well, what in the world is that? Well, I have students all the time tell me, Jay, my warm market is broke. None of my people's got any money. Well, first of all, I don't believe them. Secondly, they don't know what to say yet or how to confidently teach other people about it. But I still endorse expand your warm market. Alan, I say the more money you wallow in, the more money sticks to you. So go to where the money is. So that's the second category. I teach and I practice expanding your warm market of, your people that you're able to influence and that you have a connection with. The third category of private lenders are existing private lenders. Those are individuals that are already loaning money out to other real estate investors. So the question is, how do you find them people? What do you say to them? Well, let me work my way backwards. First, let's start with existing private lenders, people that are already loaning money out, right? I don't have to teach those people what private money is. And unfortunately, a lot of those people I don't do business with because they've already been spoiled. But anyway, a lot of existing private lenders are happy with 5 and 6%. I love those private lenders. But I just checked 2 weeks ago, USA Today published the average 12-month certificate of deposit yield at the local bank nationwide.
I haven't checked that in a while, but I don't know. I don't think I want to hear it. What is it? A quarter of a percent?
0.17%. 0.17%. That's less than 0.25%, right? In the local bank. So anyway, if somebody's happy with 5 or 6%, that's still a whole lot more than they can, get at the local bank. So these existing private lenders, how in the world do you find them? Well, when I first started attracting private money, and again, I've never asked anybody for money. I'm a teacher. But when I first started looking for private lenders, existing private lenders, I hired my real estate attorney's paralegal to search public records right here in our county, Carteret County, looking for deeds of trust. That's the same thing as a mortgage, depending on the state that the property's in. But the deed of trust or a mortgage is what collateralizes a note, right? Mm-hmm. So I hired the paralegal to look for individuals on public record that was loaning money out, collateralized or secured by real estate, not institutional names, not LLCs, but individual names. Well, 90 days went by and the paralegal found 2 people in my county. I said, there's got to be a better way than searching for public records in our small area. So we moved from there. And my company, we developed what's called my private lender data feed. That's software that actually goes out nationwide every month. And we actually get in the software every private lender loan closed every month nationwide. You can go into the software, search by zip code. We get the contact information of all these lenders, the interest rate they're accustomed to getting, the amount of money they're loaning out, the loan to value to, how much are they loaning compared to the value. So we get all that. Mm-hmm. So for those people that don't have access to my software, there's another place to go find existing private lenders. And that is self-directed IRA networking events. Self-directed IRA networking events. So here's the deal. A self-directed IRA, of course, Alan, I know you know what it is, but for the sake of your audience, a self-directed IRA is an organization or a company that is referred to as what's called a third-party custodian. They are approved by the IRS for an individual that already has an existing retirement fund, such as a 401k, a pension, a Roth IRA, an annuity, any kind of established retirement fund, could be with a previous employer, could be with a current employer. And the IRS has now the law to where someone can take current retirement funds and move those funds over to an approved self-directed IRA company, penalty-free, tax-free. And now that person, by having that account, can loan money out to real estate investors and earn unlimited money per year, at least tax deferred or tax free, depending on the retirement account they've got. Carol, Joy, and I have got one private lender that earned just recently $65,000 in 1 year of interest that we paid them tax free. So these companies, these self-directed IRA companies, have networking events. Of course, due to our situation in the country, a lot of that now takes place on Zoom, but a lot of that's opening up as well. And here's the interesting thing. About 70% of self-directed IRA account holders have money in their account, in their self-directed IRA account, liquid money, wanting to loan the money out to real estate investors. 70% of them. I know one self-directed IRA company right now that I do business with, and all of my private lenders, I got 44 of them, do business with. They got $400 million sitting in these self-directed IRA accounts just waiting to be deployed. So what a beautiful place to network is with self-directed IRA account holders. And then we move to the first category, the warm market. Now, Alan, that's where I started. When I was cut off from the bank, when Steve told me no more line of credit in January 2009, that's where I put on my teacher hat. There's 5 steps to having no funding, to having hundreds of thousands of dollars in funding or millions in funding like I did in 90 days. Here's the 5 steps of my system I put together. Here's the 5 steps I still employ today. Here's the 5 steps that my students across the nation are implementing. Step number 1, in your warm market, people you've got some kind of connection with, step number 1 is make your list. Make your list. Make your list of potential private lenders. And people ask, well, how in the world do I start with that? It's like, where do I start with potential private lenders in my network? A great place to start is to list all the people that you have a connection with that are retired. People that are retired, there's a pretty good chance they got retirement funds. Now you have an opportunity to teach them about self-directed IRAs. So step number 1, make your list. Step number 2, we're going to have a short, casual conversation with these people. Very, very short. Now, Alan, we got 2 different methods. We've got what's called the direct method, and then we have what's called the indirect method. Let me explain both of those very quickly. The direct method is when we ask someone the magic, there's that word again, the magic question. The magic question is, do you have investment capital or retirement funds not paying you a high rate of return safely and securely? That's the magic question. Now, how does that magic question work into a conversation? Obviously, Alan, I'm not going to just walk up to you and ask you that question. There's going to be a little conversation. So here's a little outline of the conversation. Let's say I call you up, Alan. Let's say you and I have been friends for a while. I call you up and we have a little chit chat. Hey, Alan, how's your day going? Great. How's the kids? How's your golf game? Great. Then I get right to it. I say, Alan, as you may know, I've been investing in real estate for some time now, and I am now opening up my real estate investing business to people that I know and trust. I am now, Alan, positioning my company to take advantage of the tidal wave of bank-owned properties that are getting ready to happen because of COVID. And Alan, I'm paying insane high rates of return. But unless you answer yes to the following question, there's no need for me to give you any information about my program. And that question is, and here's the magic question, and that question is, Alan, do you have investment capital or retirement funds not giving you a high rate of return safely and securely? Now, if you say no, I don't have retirement funds or investment capital not giving me a high rate of return safely and securely, I know you're broke. And the reason I know you're broke is because 0.17% at the bank is not a high rate of return. If you say yes, yes, I do have investment capital or retirement funds, and I'm just not happy with the rate of return I'm getting, that leads to step number 3, which is giving you or sending you or texting you or emailing you my 16-minute audio titled Stress-Free Investing. That audio is an introduction to private money and what private money is. It doesn't spill the beans on what the program is. All it does is just like swell up your greed glands in your neck to where you can't wait to hear what the program is. What's the interest rate? How are you protected? How you can get your money back? But now let's go back to step number 2. That was the direct method. There are some people, and I hear it all the time, that say, Jay, I'm not comfortable asking that direct question. I'm not comfortable asking somebody that I know is loaded with money, do you have investment capital or retirement funds not giving you a high rate of return safely and securely? Because I'm afraid they're thinking that ain't none of your business as to if I've got investment capital or retirement funds that I'm not happy with the returns. Who do you think you are asking me that question? Well, you see, those are the conversations that we have in our head. But that's why we have the indirect method. In fact, my first private lender that loaned me $250,000, I used the indirect method. But Alan, I didn't know that's what you called it. I just sort of intuitively did it. Here's the indirect method for step number 2. It's called, and this is a writer-downer, folks. This is a writer-downer. This is called simply asking people for help. The magic phrase is, I need your help. And what do you need their help with? You need their help with spreading the word that you have got a program now that's paying really high rates of return safely and securely to people that are interested in real estate in a totally passive way. So I'll tell you a quick story, Alan. It was on a Wednesday night at church, and I had these deals under contract. Steve had cut me off. I went to Bible study on Wednesday night. I walked up to a fellow. His name was Wayne. Walked up to him and I said, Wayne, I got something that I want to talk to you about, like really confidentially after Bible study. Have you got a few minutes we can visit after Bible study? Wayne says, well, of course, Brother Jay. So we start Bible study. We have opening announcements. We have 2 songs. We have the opening prayer. We have Bible study. We have the invitation. We have the closing song, and we have the amen closing prayer. And at the amen, I looked on the other side of the auditorium, which is where Wayne was sitting, and I see Wayne doing like a little trot to the back of the auditorium, coming over to where I was sitting. And Alan, Wayne walked up to me. He says, well, now, Jay, what you got in mind? What you want to talk about? You see, Wayne ain't been listening very much to the Bible study. That whole hour, he's been listening to what is this confidential thing that I want to talk to him about. So we walked down to the nursery. We closed the door. Here's the indirect method. I said, Wayne, you know everybody in this county. And he did. Alan, he was the original Zenith television dealer in Morehead City, North Carolina. Now, folks, if you don't know what a Zenith television is, that's before Walmart came to town, right? So Wayne was the Zenith dealer. He had put televisions in thousands of people's homes over the year, put a television in every one of the hospital rooms and this and that. Now I looked at Wayne and said, Wayne, you know everybody in this town. You're all involved in the network. And here's the magic phrase. I said, Wayne, I need your help. I have now opened up my real estate investing business to people I know and trust. It's by referral only. And I'm paying insane high rates of return on these real estate deals to people that would like to be involved totally passively, doing nothing, sitting back, except collecting checks. Wayne, I need your help. when you run across somebody that's complaining about the low CD rates in the bank, or they're complaining about the volatility of the stock market, would you refer them to me and I'll tell them about my program? And Wayne says, well, now, Jay, what you got in mind? I said, well, Wayne, are you saying you might be interested? He said, well, I might. Me and the wife are only getting 3% in a CD. Back then, Alan, you could get 3% in a certificate of deposit. And he says, I might be interested. He said, what kind of interest rate you got in mind there, Jay? I said, well, it depends on the deal. What sounds high to you? He said, I don't know, 5 or 6%. I said, Wayne, I can't pay you 5 or 6%, but I can pay you 8%. He said, put me down for $250,000. And right there was my first private lender, by simply asking him to spread the word, ask him for his help, to tell other people that I have this program that pays really high rates of return safely and securely. And so when I ask for help, now they're chasing me. This has got nothing to do with chasing, begging, selling. It's all about teaching. And now the money is chasing you. So the other 2 quick steps, step 3, I give them an audio. Step 4 leads to the one-on-one. So I meet with people one-on-one or in a group on Zoom. I teach the private lending program. So I actually went to Wayne and his wife's house the next day, and I taught them my program. What's the interest rate? How you protect it? How can you get your money back in case of an emergency? What's the length of the note and all that? And then they tell me how much they got to work with. And they give me a range, and then I go bring back a deal as soon as possible. And I tell you, Alan, one of the biggest mistakes I made starting out is teaching my private lending program and telling somebody brand new that I've got a deal for them to fund. That's the most stupid mistake I can make, because I already sound like I'm begging without saying it. So we only teach the program. The new private lenders all excited. They say, yes, I want to do this. Then we bring a deal back and we get it funded. And you know what, Alan? I've never pitched a deal. I've never called up somebody and said, do you want to do this deal? That's the most stupid question I could ask them. Of course they want to do the deal. They've been waiting for this phone call. I call them up and I tell them 4 things. Alan, I got great news. I can now put your money to work. I got a house in Newport with an after repaired value of $200,000. The funding required is only $150,000. Closing is next Thursday, so I'll need you to wire your funds by next Thursday. End of conversation. I didn't ask them if they wanted to fund the deal. I know they want to fund the deal because of the system. They've learned the program. They love the program. I know how much they've got to work with. I call them up. I give them great news. They wire the funds. Simple as that.
Well, excellent information, Jay. And even though, of course, you primarily focus upon single family and the program is designed for single family private funding, all of the things that you're talking about today are very applicable to those who are syndicating, because syndicators are also dealing with private lending, and your 5-step approach can be applicable there as well. So it really has a universal application there. So Jay, share with us, I know our viewers and listeners would like to find out more information about you, your program, and how they can get involved in that. So if you would share with us how we can do that.
Sure. Well, I tell you, Alan, as you know by now, I am so passionate about private money. And I know that there are real estate investors out there that want to get involved in real estate, or perhaps they're already a seasoned real estate investor and they just want more funding for their deals in a, cheap interest rates, and, having a program that puts them in control. And, it's hard to raise private money unless you know how the process works, like I've been talking about. So I am on a quest. I'm on a quest right now, Alan, to teach as many people as I can, absolutely for free, how to get involved with private money, how to get it very, very quickly, and how everybody is protected. I just finished writing my new money guide, and my money guide is titled 7 Reasons Why Private Money Will Skyrocket Your Real Estate Business and Help You Build Incredible Wealth. It's absolutely free. it'll put your audience on the fast track to getting private money, and they can download it for free at www.jayconner.com/money guide. And I'm an ER, not an OR. So again, folks, that's jayconner.com/money guide. You can download it immediately. It'll get you on the fast track to private money. In fact, when your folks get this guide, Alan, they're going to have a problem. Very quickly, they're going to have more money than they know what to do with and going to have a problem putting it all to work for their deals. So I'm so glad to offer this free money guide to your audience, Alan.
Well, Jay, we appreciate that. And viewers and listeners, you can find this information in the show notes attached to the program here. And Jay, it's been a delight having you with us. Thank you for that informative step-by-step introduction to private lending. And viewers and listeners, go out and find Jay. So thanks for being with us, Jay.
Thank you, Alan, for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Estate Investing Abundance, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, a company working for passionate professionals like you to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steve Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the human treatment of horses worldwide. Steve Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. For resources to develop your financial independence, connect with us at stevetalker.com.